live streaming should be on. Let's see if it's working. Not on Synset yet, because I have to set it live. Okay, now it might be working. Yes, it is. Go live. Okay. Let's check if it's on Twitch. Twitch, yes it is. Okay, awesome. We have everything ready except we're missing a Noby. She's still struggling with his webcam and stuff. Hopefully he will fix it in the video thing, but I don't hear anything.
Hi, here I am.
Welcome back. We're already live streaming, so beware.
Yeah, I know. I'm multitasking, you know. So, yeah.
Noby's still having some connectivity issues, so we'll see how he figures that out. Well, Noby is sorting his technical issues. Hope he manages to do so. Meanwhile, we're watching Chimera by Halcyon, which is a classic.
Well, it's not only a classic, it was one of the turn points for Cosmoplovets also.
But you guys were doing demos before Chimera got released, wasn't it? I remember you guys were doing stuff.
Yeah, but it's different when you recognize that there is someone else who is also interested in exploring that kind of space, let's call it that way. So it was a kind of part of a movement to explore, especially in those years, 2002 until 2004, more or less. I think it was a peak time when you started with noise stuff and them doing the experimental stuff and we doing those stuff. So most of the stuff, most successful stuff, let's say.
There were already some experimental things, like this one that we're just watching right now. This was 90s still.
Yeah.
And Vern was already doing some very fucked up stuff.
I agree.
This was like 5 years before. But Halcyon was this Chimera was a turning point somehow, like maybe also because it ended up not being shown at assembly, and there was this a lot of discussion about it because
I think it was the year of that out party when they held the competition, when they had 22 disqualified entries, you know, like I think it was one of the best competitions, you know, in a few years before and after that. So yeah, that was no, that year we didn't invent it. No, those years were just like a wave. Which
I remember that before this controversy, it was Assembly 2000, I believe, or 2001. But before that, there were already some controversies at Assembly for stuff not being played. Like Assembly always been an issue with demos not being too, how do they call, popular or too good for the big screen.
Yeah,
so they always had those
there's
issues.
There were some really good, I think, Coma productions that were not shown, and also I think the signed by Halcyon and the Jormas was also not shown at us.
From here, yeah, like let's I can tell you something about our perspective. In the 90s, we couldn't travel, we didn't participate practically in the scene that much. But we already saw that some groups that are experimenting, like Jormas or even CNCD, and TPOLM were kind of pushed away, and like other groups who were very mainstream, like Doomsday and stuff which was cheesy, was starting to get some traction. So.
I mean, Doomsday started doing some experimental stuff as well. I mean, they were famous for those early demos, Boost and Electronics and stuff like that, which was more psytrance than anything else, or psytrance with a little bit of dusk pop or whatever you can call that. But then they did some weird stuff. I remember Lotto, for example, was pretty weird thing. They had a couple of demos there that were a bit freaky, but it was later, like in 2000s already.
Yeah, but it's a big group, you know, like many ideas, like Farbrausch, you know. It's you can find very different stuff under Farbrausch label, for example. So yeah, but it's kind of like I for example, there was Jormas, I think, or it will be in this playlist. There is this Finnish group who were like heroes to us because they were enforcing their idea that music is a central point of can be central point of gathering, and that productions are like magazines, like messages along that music. So
are you talking about the Jormas?
Yeah, I'm talking about Jormas.
They also got disqualified at Assembly, curiously enough, with Saint, which became one of their most popular demos.
Yeah. Also, MFX was like, some demos were like popular, but some demos were like, let's not talk about them. So, you know, I really liked those groups that are trying to whatever they pop in their mind. For example, MFX, they even done some really noise, black and white stuff with Nosfe, I believe.
Yeah. The Cognosphere and Capanaccius and that series.
And you know, it's good to communicate in that way with work. So
okay,
we're that's the idea of this experimental scene anyway.
We're at 7 o'clock, but Noby's still having technical difficulties. I don't know if we should try waiting for him or not. I guess we can advance a little bit. Maybe we should try talking about... Well, first of all, we have two guests today, Dominator and Nosfe. As you can see, I'm gonna have to fix my screen a little bit for you guys to see that. We will do that while I try to talk. We're trying to get Noby also in because we also wanted to cover the demo bit results, and Noby participated quite a little bit on some demo bit productions as well. We might have also a surprise guest from Zden if he decides to show up or not. Probably not, but we'll see how things go. He said he might show up, but he didn't give 100% because he was traveling and blah blah blah, whatever. So anyways, welcome to Mystery Demoscene Theater 9000, Season 4, Episode 2. You have with me Dominator and Nosfe. Dominator is from the group Cosmoplovcy, one of the few active demo groups from Serbia and Balkans region in general. And Nosfe is from MFX and Flow and I don't know how many other 500 groups do you have, Nosfe?
I don't know anymore how many groups there are. Over 10.
VLP, FAG, a lot of them.
Yeah, and Aatekorjaamo is the newest one.
Oh, yeah, the stuff you've been doing with Remy now, right?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start with Cosmoplovcy first, and then work our way into Demobit or Nosfe. So tell me, Igor, how did you start into the demo scene?
Oh man. Well, I started in the demo scene a lot before Cosmoplovcy, in the beginning of 90s, with the group which was called Corrosion, and it was mostly made of musicians like Jormas, for example, and not much code, not much productions, at least in the first half. And later, in the second half of the 90s, I started to get interest in work which we will now talk about, like we call experimental work. But I think it's maybe the most important part of the demo scene. And when we came to the 2000, and it was time for another group to form, and that was the birth of Cosmoplovcy, which was actually a group made of comic artists, illustrators, designers, and demo sceners. So we kind of we wanted to use demo scene as a place to present our ideas, and we thought it was most suitable to I don't know, to express ourselves.
How did you end up with comic artists involved in Cosmoplovcy? Because you were coming from Corrosion. Corrosion was mostly music people, and the demo scene is mostly about programming. So where did that love for comics get involved into the group?
Well, this is how it is. I'm a musician. My first interest in computers came from music. So during the 90s, I was involved in making and building the local music scene, rave scene, art scene, and I met a lot of different artists. We were in hardcore years, politically not unlike today, so we kind of worked together to help each other, made events together, and that's how we got closer in these different medias. So we kind of inspired them to accept digital tools, but also learned from them to learn about how to use technological to our purpose, not just clicking on some plugins or tools in software, but also to make your own software, to make your own ideas. So it was interesting to the people from the comic scene. So that's how the idea of making a group together came by, because they wanted to see some of their ideas moving like they were moving in demos, because I promoted demos and showed them and proved them that the demo scene is open for very experimental work, and I showed them a lot of work from other people on the scene, other groups on the scene, and that's how it still goes on, you know, like everywhere else.
it was something that really fascinated me when I started getting to know you guys from Cosmoplopsy a little bit better. How you have so many connections to other scenes. Usually demo scene groups are very, like a very small, close group of friends. And they don't really, they focus on making demos and not really, I don't know, reach out for political stuff or for radio stuff or for, you know, other kinds of media, which Cosmoplopsy seem to be more interested in. I don't know, is that like because of the Balkan scene or?
Yeah, there are a few reasons for that. First of all, demo scene was very small, and we made some events in 96, 97, 98, which were like focused on demo scene. But at those events, we realized that demo scene is too small, and that other artists are also interested to express themselves in digital format. You must take into account that politically, we were also in a situation where computers and BBS systems and internet were the only place where we can promote our work, because media was closed, because there wasn't any kind of local art scene. So that all binded us together, like to work more closely, to help each other, and to not divide us too much among different scenes. But I actually worked with few people who formed Cosmoplopsy to bring all these scenes together.
I see.
And that's not the consequence, that was our plan, which kind of worked. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not paying. I'm not paying that much attention, not because it's not interesting, but for one, I already know the story. So, and then I'm struggling with this layout here, trying to include Noby, who is still having some technical difficulties. But I really love the whole way that it developed in the Balkans, and it's interesting because when you compare to other demo scene countries that were also like from the Soviet side, let's call it that, they also have a similar history somewhat, and I hear that from some people from Russia and some people from other scenes as well. Have you ever noticed that comparison, or?
Well, yes, but it happens in different timelines. You know, they had their wave of revolution, like for, let's say, Romania, for example. The change and the movement happened 10 years before, and it was the time of the VHS and the pirating of VHS movies and that kind of stuff, which were illegal, and computers were still not spread in that time. So in the 90s, it was computers as a main platform for communication. So not everyone who used computer ended up in demo scene, of course, but I don't know. I know a lot of artists from galleries, like let's say normal artists, painters, and even performance artists.
Yeah, so-called traditional arts.
Yeah. And there are some things that I really dislike about that. One of things is that they kind of show you only the teaser of what they work. You can never see what they work, because you have to come to that particular place and to see them there. So for me, that kind of kills the purpose of making a message, if you know what I mean. You know?
Yeah, it's something that I always found it very weird when I was getting into this whole digital art thing, how traditional arts are not very open to having their work shown. They want you to go to a certain place, and they incentivize you to go there and watch stuff, but they never really share because they feel like you're stealing their thing. They don't show it digitally.
and usually you can only buy it, you know, and you know, when someone is, it was too much for me, not only for me, for all the movement, to see that that there are many people who are talking about you know, change and revolution in many aspects, including economy, and then asking each other to buy things, you know, to be consumers. So you can't think about against consuming if you are making a product. So
I mean, but that's a problem of living in a capitalist society. Even if you're against, and Nosfe has a very good insight on this because he's anarchist in nature. So you're forced to live in a capitalist society. So you're forced to sell stuff to be able to survive, even if you disagree on how the society is run.
I know, but I don't sell my work which I made with Cosmopolitan, for example. You know, it's a platform where ideas are gathered. Each of us has some projects or work where we work on something where we sell our talent. But for me, it was a choice that my stuff that I make, that we make as a group, was available free, and Demoscene was the only platform which does it naturally, where this comes as a normal thing.
Yeah, before they invented Creative Commons, Demoscene was already distributing stuff between each other, and it was like people would just remix each other's work naturally.
We called it public domain. It's much better name.
But it wasn't officially labeled public domain. But we were actually having this discussion before by email about monetization of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they are not mutually exclusive. You can give stuff for free and be accessible. And I try to do that with Enough Records, my net label. Like, have everything free for download and then give away for people to pay you back something if they want to. I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I think you're a bit too radical in that department, but I respect your ideology.
No, let me tell you something. We are talking about today. I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about 90s. Today, things are different. There are some new models, new economies, which I support, which are, you know, more like what it needs to be. But I'm talking about the 90s, about people who give you just the first part of article, and then you have to pay to read the other part. You know, about hardcore paywalls, which kind of stop the flow of information. I'm also an anarchist, but I'm an information anarchist. You know that what
information wants to be free.
Yeah, that one is like really important for me in everything. In politics, I'm deeply political, also with my art and with my music. So, you know, everything we do is political. Economy is political, and I'm not against earning a value which I can use in something else, but I am against how this value is spread now in this kind of economy that now exists. So, and I'm sure you can also understand this and work also. You, for example, have this stuff on Twitch, you have it on Patreon, for example. Patreon is one of these new economies that I'm talking about, which is acceptable for me.
Yeah.
But it didn't exist in the 90s. Or we didn't have access for it from Serbia.
From what you told me, some things are still hard to access in Serbia nowadays, even modern systems.
If you believe PayPal is only usable, has become usable only in the end month of last year. Like, we are very early in PayPal, and I'm deep into, I don't know, Bitcoin and crypto stuff. You know,
so it's funny because
sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
You hear me?
Welcome, Noby.
Oh.
Finally.
Okay, just a couple minutes and I'll be ready, but glad to know that actually at least now things work. So, all right.
Okay, good luck fixing your technical issues. So we were talking about Patreon and the new things, and PayPal is relatively new in Serbia. That's like mind blown, because in other countries it existed for like 10 years without any problem. And what's the main issue with Serbia? Is like the connection with the banks? What's our regulations?
Well, to put it very simply, we have 3 decades of rulers who are keeping our country in isolation so they can steal more for themselves.
Typical corruption tactics.
You know, they have PayPals, they have companies in different countries, they make everything, but it's not accessible to every citizen, you know.
Don't you have like VPNs and stuff that you can, you know, create accounts outside of Serbia and just use stuff there?
Well, yeah, but it's risky because foreign companies don't like that. So when they know that you are not from that you're from Serbia, they're also afraid of consequences. I don't know, political, economical. So we kind of need to hide. We need to work with our friends who live abroad. We make different kind of things, but it makes everything more harder than it should be.
Yeah, I understand that. Nosfe, I was gonna ask you about since we are bridging and talking about anarchism and monetization and stuff like that. Nosfe, do you want to tell us about your auction thing that you've been doing?
The total sellout.
Yeah, is that like a way that you found to well, you know, make viable your art? Are you, because I know you're an anarchist. Are you anti-capitalist altogether?
Yeah, but I also try to, you know,
Eat.
have to eat and have to give my pay for the electricity and all that, and kind of trying to see if it's possible to sell works via internet somehow, and also just like getting rid of all the piles of art that I've gathered and kind of like moved from apartment and storage to another for like years and years and years. So I figure it's better to just like get them out there and to have them on people's walls instead of like just rotting in some storage space somewhere.
Yeah, always better to have your art actually be seen by people instead of taking up room. Although, do you guys approach your art as like something you need to say to other people, or is it something just to express yourself? Because mostly for me, when I do noise and ambient kind of stuff, is mostly to express myself, and then it ends up in a platform that someone might understand my pain, let's call it that. And I'm always curious when I talk with other noise artists and experimental artists if they have the same vision, which some people call it emo vision. I've been called emo a lot of times because of that. But it's like, for me, it's a catharsis when I do noise, when I do ambient, and then somehow I can turn some of those aspects into something that other people might also enjoy. Is your process similar, or can I have your ideas on that?
Mine.
Well, both of you, whoever wants to go first.
Please, Nosfe, I want to do.
Yeah, for me, it kind of depends on like whether I'm doing. Like the process is different whether I'm doing working just by myself or with different people, and then also depending on like with different people, there's always different kind of dynamics. But
I have a lot of problems working with other people because they usually don't get the point of what I'm trying to do. And I was very happy to collaborate with Dominator a few times because he understands that vision, like especially talking about dark ambient and glitch and that kind of stuff. Like,
I think. Let me, if you allow me, I want to say something. I believe that for few people to be able to perform together, they must share the vision.
Mm-hmm.
They must have the similar, not the same, but we call it similar way but different direction. So, for example, I will mention my colleague Tatar, which is also very important in our experimental stuff that we made. He's making his own stuff. He's making his own sounds. He's making his own things. And I never prepare with him what we will play live. We only perform live, and we come. Sometimes we don't meet for a few years at all. We don't talk at all. But then we meet and we share the same vision from different aspects. So that's how this group music happens in our, at least in my way, when we collaborated and worked together. For example, we had this 11 years ago, we had this joint performance in Nosfe's gallery.
Yeah, in Helsinki. I participated in that as well.
So when we crashed the sound system 3 times. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and burned the speakers.
So, I agree with you that it's catharsis, but you can't find the catharsis, you can't find yourself fulfilled after it if you don't understand with each other before it also. So that's how I pick with whom I want to play. I don't want to play with anyone. Like, I'm not that kind of guy. Okay, you're a musician, let's play together. I want to know something philosophically about. I want to meet someone on a more higher level, and if we meet, then it doesn't matter who makes or loves what kind of music. For example, at this moment, I'm making some very experimental stuff, which is mixing my very experimental electronics with his vocals and guitars, which are almost like rock blues kind of thing. Not that one that I showed you, something very different. So, but it really grows on both on me and on him, and on the drummer, which is the third part of the puzzle. We prepare ourselves for some live performances, but we completely understand the vision. Even if we didn't play together before.
I always have a lot of problems working with drummers because I never really see the rhythm in the stuff that I'm doing, but that's a personal issue. I had great experiences with some drummers as well, but mostly I avoid drums altogether because it just feels like it's trying to go somewhere where the ambient is not taking you. Anyways, I think we're diverging a little bit. Nosfe, you were telling us about how you do your art, and it depends if you're doing it for yourself or with other people. Would you like to go on?
Yeah, because I like to try these different collaborations with people and all this. And yeah, with some people it's impossible to actually work together, and I think that's interesting as well. Like, even just to try to play or make a demo with someone and then just failing. But I
you
think
might find something interesting.
Yeah, because sometimes even the failing is interesting, because then you know at least like what kind of things not work and what kind of people you just, because I don't think it's, because I had really surprising like experiences like doing collaboration with people that I kind of couldn't think maybe beforehand that the work would actually be good or like the collaboration would be successful.
Well, there is also an aspect of communication. You know, if you think about music and especially ambient noise, sound, you know, experimentation with sound, then if you think about it as a communication, then sometimes you can work with someone who is opposing you, you know, but respect you musically. So you can make these dynamics into performance as well, you know, like some kind of communication.
Noby, you just joined us. Do you have your microphone working? That's a no. We can't hear you.
No.
So fuck. I was gonna ask you a question, but I guess you're going back to.
Now you can hear me, right?
Now you can hear me. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, welcome, Noby. We were asking our guests how they work on their creative process, if it's catharsis or if they envision something they want to communicate first and then they work on it. So I guess I should extend the question to you, if you would like to have a go at it.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed that I missed that part. Like, technology just totally like came against me here. Like, just nothing was working. But well, I got there eventually. But yeah, you actually mentioned catharsis there, and that's. I mean, it would have been nice if I heard actually the lead in a bit better than this. But yeah, catharsis is one of the things that like motivates me the most, or is something that I, in art, in general, like really look for. That it's something that like releases these bottled up knots and so on. And I sometimes try to do that on my productions too. Do you have a follow up to that?
Well, I was wondering if you're the same as our other two guests, because you usually seem to be so meticulous on your production that you seem like you have a plan before you actually do the catharsis thing. So I was curious if that was like, but I guess you can also do a bit of both. Have like a catharsis element and then figure out how to produce it on the next level.
Yeah, I think the catharsis just comes like through the process, because my productions are usually like not very planned at all, to the extent that they're planned, but when I start making them I start very late, and usually the plans just like don't come together at all. so there's a plan, but I think like the chaoticness of the actual creation process creates sort of the catharsis that is it's always very stressful, and it's a huge huge undertaking to actually complete one of these productions. And I think that's how the catharsis comes through.
Okay, let's go back to Dominator and Cosmoplovsy. We're now watching one of the demos that became the most known Cosmoplovsy entry so far. It's Colonia, and it was amazing the feedback that it got at the time, because it's quite simple, quite basic for a demo. It's just images and with an amazing soundtrack, but it created such an impact that even the people who don't usually like experimental stuff like this demo quite a lot. So I guess, Dominator, can you tell us a little bit how the demo got together?
Yeah, of course. This is one interesting example of some things that we talked here. This demo has 2 parts and 2 music in it. The first part is borrowed because
you asked permission to the guy, right? I remember you did.
Yeah, we asked permission, yeah. And you know, one of the guys from the comic section was learning Adobe Premiere, you know. And he was fucking up some stupid footage of some skaters jumping around. And,
this doesn't look like skaters.
Of course. So he was, you know, like poking with this mirror thing, and then there was also research into African masks and all that kind of. We were visiting African Museum at the time, and it's a process which was happening for months. You know, gathering this folder of 955 images was scrambling around. I think we tried at least 10 different music, how, you know, to fit it, and left it. And then one
do you have higher resolution versions of the images? Or are they lost forever?
Well, I think there are some high resolution stuff, but not much higher, because, you know, the guy was learning the software, and it's not like he knew too much what is resolution, you know. But it was my choice, you know. One of the reasons why I wanted to work with artists and not with I don't know, IT, you know, some companies and stuff, is because those people who have ideas, who are good artists, they need help to make their productions work as they intended. You know, I wanted to raise the bar about the quality of art, like to have a good produced art. So I always tried to leave them to experiment, and then talk together and see how we can fit that into production. So it was my idea to make this running slideshow with this kind of atmosphere in it, which was a kind of sublimation of what was happening at that time in our community, you know. So
it's amazing how we got so much.
Like Noby said, it was not planned. It was made. It part by part. The second music, the most loved one music, the music that I actually licensed to some companies because they wanted to use it in their whatever. The second part is made by me, but also in this period it was like homage, you know, for this kind of music and to make this picture full. So few months of work, of sublimation, which is not like everyday work, but it's going to some direction, and part by part it has become this.
Okay, hold on, I'm just...
low resolution stuff because computers at the time didn't have enough graphics RAM, and our engine was very primitive. It loaded all graphics immediately into graphics RAM, so you couldn't put too much stuff at the time. That's why it was cut down to 256, I believe.
Yeah, it's very low resolution. I was trying to do a remix of it the other day, and like the images are so small, they're actually upscaled in the demo. That's why you see some artifacts there.
I actually have some images which are 4 times bigger, like 512 times 512. So I can give you that.
That would be interesting to work around with. I was gonna ask, I guess, Noby, since Nosfe is having some connectivity issues, the influence of Colonia. Was this one of the demos that you checked early on when you were getting into experimental stuff? For a lot of people who are doing experimental stuff, Colonia is like a big reference.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it at fairly like early stage of me being involved with the scene, and I wouldn't say it was like it didn't define the demo scene for me, but it was a big influence, and especially the second part. Like, if you look at like the poet comments and whatnot, like my productions are often compared to that, like it's Colonia and something else, and I think that is a big compliment. Especially, and especially like this music is something I'd say has had a big influence on me. It's very similar to the Finnish duo Pansonic, which is another big
Yeah,
influence.
Pansonic is also a big influence for me too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's good to hear that, because I don't know, the comments on Poet on our productions are often very contradictory. Like, there are some people who hate us and need to say it, and there are some people who love us and need to say it. And I'm most happy when there is no one in between. You know, I don't like those "it's okay" comments, you know.
This demo is okay.
Yeah.
Nothing special. Anyone could
Yeah,
have
if
done
people
that.
either hate or love it, then it's a success.
Yeah, I guess that's the definition of art, isn't it? When it moves you to have strong opinion, that's when you are making the best art.
Yeah, I'd say like when it comes to my productions, there's usually very little middle ground. It's either people like utterly hate it or like utterly love it, and that's why I don't want to make productions that are people like don't have an opinion on.
Sure, you got it right.
I don't know, what else can we talk about Colonia? I really like the fact that it still inspires people so many years afterwards. We still see demos that have references to Colonia.
I can tell you that all sync are made manually by me.
Like in a text file, you wrote the times?
Yeah, it's a script with where I wrote all the values and calculated very large script. For every, you know, like screen change, fade in, fade out.
You didn't have the spacebar technique? We used to do that when I was doing demos with Melvin. We'd trigger the spacebar. Whenever you hit the spacebar, it would record that momentum. So you would go through the demo just hitting spacebar whenever there was a sync, and you would have those times recorded.
No, nothing recorded.
You were low tech. You did text directly.
Scripted and timeless. Watching and watching and watching until it's finished. So I believe I managed to force coder of the engine to make me at least a kind of a loop, you know, script loop. So it was a bit easier, but not that much.
And nowadays you can just use your mouse wheel to scroll the timeline back and forth and fix stuff.
Nowadays I'm looking for new thrills, so I'm not so much... Well, I'm watching other people. I'm also watching Noby's stuff, which I'm really glad that he's here. Yeah, I really like your stuff, yeah. And I'm kind of feeling good that there is a kind of new generation of people who like to explore the sound. You know me, PS. I'm not only into ambient and experimental stuff.
Yeah, I remember you like jungle a lot as well.
I jungle, drum and bass, techno, you know, like...
If it's electronic, you're into it.
Not only electronic, but yeah, mostly, okay. So, but, you know, to see the new generation spawning in some way and understanding this, I don't like people copying stuff. I like people inventing stuff. So, few years there was this Russian guy, UNC.
Yeah, from Quite.
Yeah, and I really respect him a lot. Never met him yet, but
yeah, they
really
do great stuff. I love Quite demos.
Respect him a lot, and in the last few years, Prison Beings was one of the group that appeared in this kind of way, and of course Space Pigs.
Space Pigs. You talk about the importance of Hello Kevin, but I think everybody in this demo scene already knows about Hello Kevin and Space Pigs. So I'm reluctant to show it again.
This particular show is not watched only by demo sceners. I can assure you of that. So maybe you should play Hello Kevin at least. So,
I might play later on.
I think actually like JCO topped himself with the new demo from this year. I think it was better than the whatever those Hello Kevin was.
The one with the poet comments on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was alright.
That among many other things. I watched it again like a week ago, and it's really like one of the highlights of last year to me.
I want to see it too. It's not about Hello Kevin, it's about their project and their demos, like in plural.
Yeah, they don't care to make standard demos. They want to make weird demos.
I think this kind of energy is important, and it exists only on Demoscene, you know. So.
And you know that the Space Pigs is a name that they robbed. It was an original Amiga group, and they just decided at some point that let's revive an old Amiga group that is dead for this many years and make very shitty demos with it.
That's good. I like it.
That's a very anarchic style as well of thinking. And I would like to talk a bit about Migracia here. For me, Migracia was one of the best demos that really got me into making ambient. Because you saw that initial red thing with a lot of noise, and then the soundtrack changes into this little masterpiece.
This one was... Believe me, this one almost didn't get released. Because,
and I like...
You know,
the visuals are like completely stroboscopic. The sound is like... It doesn't really connect. The sound seems like space ambient, but the visuals are like of microscopic things. It's a very weird feeling.
Well, you see these flashing images. They're all flashing images of viruses, you know. If you pay attention. And they have a similar geometric form as the objects in the animation and in the real-time engine. So this migratia is migration in English. And
so the viruses are migrating to another planet.
A kind of movie about viruses who are migrating, if you understand what I mean. You know, it's a kind of 10 minutes of recording of their movement from one place to another, and there is this radio noise which is recorded from AM stations, you know, and in the background, and there is this...
Oh, this is field recordings on top of it as well. I thought it was all generated.
No, not generated. There are recordings that are actually made live. I had this guy who is totally not into computers, and he liked to listen to these radio stations and make audio tapes, like record his
well, what kind of stations are these? Are they like number stations or...?
Very different stuff. Also number stations, but also different kind of music and very much static. You know, like this kind of noises that you hear, and he focused mostly on this kind of these noises and these sounds that happen in between stations. You know, like the spaces in between. So I actually got 1 hour recording of this, his performances, and I needed to make something out of it. So that's how the music.
I really love this demo. I like it because it seems like it ended and everyone presses escape and the demo is just starting, and then the more you wait, the more it evolves. So it feels like you start at the end and then you sort of creep back into this afterlife of demo in this case.
Well, I don't like to give too much context into what exactly our demos are. I'm talking about some aspect that it may be understood, but I always like to hear if someone else saw something else. You know, if you, for example, your definition of what this demo means to me the same as my definition. You know, it's kind of, I like to see how this statement, what it can mean in different minds. So that's why I make it and why I release it. And I told you in the beginning, I almost didn't get it released because I wasn't sure. And we have this trilateral commission in Cosmopolacy, where we kind of vote, you know, different people.
I remember when we were working on a demo that is gonna be played next, the Lost Religion of Light. And at some point we were like, we were happy with how it was, but then suddenly we all started doubting each other. And at different times. So I thought the demo wasn't really good, and then Avok thought the demo wasn't really good, and then you started thinking that the demo wasn't really good, and we kept rotating on who would defend that the demo is actually really good.
Yeah, so we that's why we had this this kind of commission, which involved 3 of us voting for every release. So if all 3 of us, it's not majority, we must all say yes. So for whatever reason, we don't need to explain to each other. For whatever reason, all 3 of us think that the work is worth it, then it's put online.
I like that concept. It sucks that I'm only one person that I can't have that committee, but I like that concept.
It helps. It helps in situation when you doubt yourself. And you usually doubt yourself when you make something new, so yeah.
Okay, let's, the demo is only halfway through, it's 12 minutes long, so we're gonna skip to the next one, which is the Lost Religion of Light. This is something that I made in collaboration with Dominator while I was visiting them in Serbia in, what fucking year is this? 2007. 2007.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of code. I think it's my track, but you remixed the track, or is it completely my track? I don't remember anymore.
It's your track. It's my animation and objects, and it's your additional code, which kind of
like for those little glitches. I did some FFT stuff to sync those glitches a little bit better.
Yeah. I believe we made this. Breakpoint 05, one of the epic releases. I made it. I believe we made it 2 years before this one, so this was like a continuation of that one, you know, in some way.
You mean P351? I think we made the Breakpoint intro first, then we made P351, then we made this, and then we made 0808 of the Death.
Yeah.
So this was probably the 3rd one. But yeah, it's very similar to P351, which was released at BCN Party, in terms of mood.
This one even has these overlays. You can recognize these overlays. They're from the same set of graphics which was used in Breakpoint 05. So that's why I'm calling it some kind of continuation or whatever.
Evil is trolling on the chat. He's saying how to kill a group. You join it and then you make an ambient demo, which was pretty much what I did. I managed to kill Kalodox, I managed to kill TPOLM, I managed to kill Farbrausch, and then I joined Cosmoplopsy. Did I kill Cosmoplopsy? Because you guys been inactive for a little while.
The solution is to start off your first demo by having it been an ambient demo.
And then the group is already dead at start.
Yeah, if you're already dead, you can't die.
Yeah. Demoscene is dead. Long live Demoscene.
Maybe you need to dig up some old Amiga groups and just start reviving them, like what happened to Space Pigs.
Well, yeah, well, I'm Cosmoplopsy. Let me tell you some actual news about Cosmoplopsy. Cosmoplopsy are dysfunctional for some years because comic group illustrators have kind of separated and get a step back to working only on comics. I believe that it has some idea with that it's easier and it involves less work. So kind of.
But is making comics really profitable in Serbia, or is it? I guess.
No, it's not really about profit.
But it's not about money. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think, but I guess maybe it's more fulfilling for them. I don't know.
You know, I'm this kind of guy who has long vision, you know. I'm not getting into some hype and then stop with it. I start things only when I'm really interested into it. For example, in the 90s, I really didn't listen much to the ambient or experimental music at all. I listened to hardcore, GABA, you know, like industrial, Ministry, even metal, you know, kind of different music. And then I bumped into Otekra, you know, Otekra.
Yeah.
And into Panasonic, you know, the one friend of mine who was older than me gave me this CD with Kulma album from Panasonic, and in '95, I believe, and you know, it changed my life.
You became a noise artist.
So I realized that this is much, you know, bigger.
You're not really a noise artist, though. You do a lot of different electronics, but I think what you used to call yourself was hardcore ambient. It's like ambient, but very oppressive.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you something about this word noise. Noise is very complicated. Most people associate it with harshness.
Yeah.
Nosfe will probably understand what I'm talking about. There is this harsh noise movement, and I don't like it. I don't.
Oh, there's harsh noise, there's jap noise, there's power noise, glitch.
Yeah, but there is also something that we call drone.
Yeah,
you know?
Drone is ambient.
Yeah, but it's also noise. I can connect you with many very serious people who will fight you if you try to argue.
Say that drone is music, but drone has melodies in it, so, even if they're very slow.
Yeah, but noise, there are some community of people which I kind of understand that when they say noise, they generally think about adjusting the sound, about experimenting with sound, you know. It's like noise equals sound, and everything you do with it.
Everything is noise, you know. Everything is sound.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be harsh noise. It can be bass noise, you know. It can be in different frequency, and I like to go in that frequency, like to see how it resonates with the place where we play, how it feeds back.
Like the demo that we just watched, this is like drone glitch. It's not noise, at least in my book. I call it drone glitch because it has those little glitches, and some people might call that noise, but for me it's called glitch.
Okay. But for example, Tatar, which is also the guy which I worked a lot with.
I believe Tatar did this soundtrack for this one.
Yeah, it was Tatar soundtrack, but as many work as some, this one also was envisioned, let's say that, by me. And it was made out of drawings on the paper, which I made into 3D objects, like with some ideas, very simple ones. But yeah, it's Tatar music, and he was more like into this noise and sounds, and I was more into construction and rhythm, if you like. So that's how we kind of work together when we perform live. You know.
Okay. I'm wondering if we should go next to Demobit demos, or if we should go to Nosfe stuff. I guess we should go to Demobit because Nosfe stuff is already on Demobit, and then we can go on from there.
Yeah.
So let's check out some Demobit stuff. I'm gonna skip this demo because it's only 4 minutes long and it's quite good, but we already spent so much time on Cosmoplopsy. I think we should probably go ahead.
Yeah, I
otherwise.
agree. I agree. Yeah, just go.
Dominator agrees. So let's take a look at the at some stuff from demo bit. This one was the one scene demo compo, which is a demo compo I really like. You just do one effect, and you have a compo for stuff with one effect. And this was the winner one from Altair. And who was at the demo party? Noby, you were at the demo party. So what can you tell us about the demo bit in general and this compo in particular? Nothing, because you're muted. Your microphone isn't working. 1 second. Maybe need to click the mic off on the... now we hear.
Yeah, I probably accidentally clicked it. Yeah, it was my first demo bit, and it was an absolutely amazing party. I would recommend everyone to go there. Just excellently organized and perfect atmosphere, and just... I
really wanted to come, but couldn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who were in that exact situation.
Yeah, but I believe it was a great party. It was, you know, when there is a concept, and you know, I like them a bit. It's really good that they started to make it again in the last few years.
And talking about experimental scenes, Dan is a very important person in the experimental demo scene because he made a lot of releases that were like anti-demos as well, pretty much like Coma did. It wasn't like popularly famous. He would just release a demo because he felt like doing something experimental. And I remember stuff like B10 and things like that. He would have very famous demos like in Cyber, and then have completely experimental stuff like the D10 that I just mentioned. And the Detox, I remember, was also considered quite experimental at the time. So it's very cool that he's still active in the demo scene and organizing demo parties again, which is also quite important.
Yeah, he was a very good organizer at demo bit in every capacity. Like, took care of people's needs and like kept the schedule on time and so on.
Right now we're taking a look at 256 bytes compo, I believe. This is the number 3rd entry, 249notes.com. Apparently it plays 549 notes. This is the 2nd place. It's called Cube Rail by Tomcat of Abaddon. And it has no sound.
This wasn't by Tomcat. This was by someone else, I believe. Yeah, the last one was by Tomcat.
Really? Okay. You might be right.
I believe the creator of this intro like made one other intro in like 2004 or 5 and nothing since then, and then now like 15 years later made another one.
So it's a comeback.
Yeah.
The one who made this is Assembler Bot. Okay. So 2nd place for Assembler Bot with this cubes in a tunnel, I guess it's called. And then the 1st place went for Rolla with Relax. High resolution thingy with some sound.
Obvious winner. Well, to each their own taste, but I think
just because it has sound.
A lot of the entries had sound, but I think this one just is refined in every way, and I think this is where most people's tastes meet.
Alright, and that was the 256 bytes combo. But it's been a very interesting 256 bytes combo in every single demo bit, so it's very cool to see it happening. Then we had the 64K combo, which was won by this, which is Krutok. By who made Krutok? Clear Screen.
Clear Source, I believe, is there. It's actually, I think it's a very underrated group. They haven't been active for a while, maybe even like a decade.
I remember them active in the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, they made some 64K intros, I think like in the late noughties, late 2000s, like 10 years ago. And I think they like dropped out since then and then just came back with this, I guess.
Demo bit resurrected them, I guess.
Yeah, demo bit sort of a lot of old people, like absent people coming back, and a lot of new groups, new names.
Yeah, I have many new names also. which are yet to be known.
Asteroids ahead. I mean, this HUD looks a bit unpolished, but the scenes overall look okay.
I really get sleepy with this kind of music, you know.
Yeah.
They say the same about your entries, so...
I can't watch, you know, I mute it because the visuals are nice, but I don't understand.
It's not particularly memorable.
I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I always try to I really I listen to different kind of genres because only thing that I care about is that image and animation is connected to the music. So if you have it, then I don't care what genre it is. You know, you can make a rock song if it works, then it's okay.
And you don't feel the connection between the visuals and the music here?
This is like someone has put some MIDI song, you know, like boring, like lazy coder who didn't want to search for a musician and he put some MIDI song. This is my impression. I don't believe that it happened.
You're probably insulting like 2 or 3 people right there, but okay.
I'm sure that I am, but it's my taste, you know. I really get sleepy with this kind of music, so if you want to not make me sleepy, then put some other music. I'm kidding.
Anyways, let's move on to the Amiga compo, which was not very popular, and this was the winner entry. It's called Amiscope,
on Amiga, yeah.
And it's by Satori, yeah.
Insta-like from me, yeah.
Made with the HowJob framework, I believe.
Yep, with the HowJob framework indeed.
Yeah, I believe we'll see probably quite a populous Amiga component revision due to that. I know at least someone who is working on something with the framework for revision.
It's got a bit of a backlash because it used the vampiric Amiga, whatever the fuck that is. I guess it's an acceleration card for the Amiga to make it faster.
Yeah.
So we got some lish for that. Okay, so please do tell us.
Well, there is a community which was actually started in Balkans, believe it or not. There is this
The vampiric Amiga comes from the Balkans.
Yeah.
I thought vampires were supposed to be from Romania, not Serbia. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, it's called Vampire because it's a card that piggybacks on the CPU, you know, and it takes over the computer. It uses some components from the Amiga, but it actually does most of the stuff on itself, including the emulation of CPU and AGA chipset and all this pretty stuff, which are much faster than any accelerator which was ever made for Amiga is capable of. So it's kind of upgrade that can make your Amiga 500 run very good and very fast for today's, I don't know, usage, even surfing, you know, kind of watching videos and stuff. You know. So it's a short story about Vampire, and it's made by a guy who has the same name as I am from 200 kilometers from here.
Okay, I didn't know it was from Serbia. That's very interesting.
Well, the company is larger and international, but this guy, he's actually the guy who is making the PCBs and designs.
Okay, anyways, moving on to the demo compo. This was the last placed entry, unfortunately, and it got last place because it's experimental. And this is your track, Nosfe, so what can you tell us about this? And I see a lot of relations with Colonia. Was this Colonia inspired in some way?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of similarity here, but it's a remix of the previous demo we did with Primina and kind of we decided to make this one because at the Skeneklubi party, which was just like a couple of weeks before Demobit, our demo ended up not being like properly shown because the audio track crashed the Demon amp.
I thought that only happened at assembly, like the big speakers only crept up at assembly. Apparently it happens at Skeneklubi as well.
It happens at Skeneklubi. There was this Denon amp that really crashed like 6 times, and in the end they played it with so low volume that the track wasn't heard at all. And so I wanted to kind of like
test it on the proper PA.
Yeah. And then just doing the mirror effect and kind of, and also I did just a little bit of adjusting for the sound, kind of compressed it and kind of.
And Remina is in the chat. So Remina, was this Colonia inspired? You were saying you only knew Colonia a few weeks ago. So was this inspired by Colonia before you make it, or you only saw it afterwards? Clearly it has that mirroring effect that the Rorschach tests have, which is pretty much the foundation of Colonia.
Well, let me tell you something about Colonia, you know, and this kind of visuals. When we made the Colonia, we kind of, I'm not really, I don't even know how we came all to these visuals and stuff, but it was sublimation, as I explained before. But there are works which are older than ours and are somewhat similar. There is this group called the Anti-Group Consortium, or TAGC, who, if you search on the YouTube for Burning Water, there is this Burning Water soundtrack, they called it, which is a piece of work, ambient piece of work, 26 minutes long, which has visuals similar to this and similar to Colonia and similar to many other things. So it's not that it's kind of visuals that are subliminally shared, you know. We came to them, we didn't know about that video when we made Colonia, just as much as Nosfe probably didn't think about Colonia when he made this. So it's kind of common symmetry stuff, you know, that we are kind
mirror
of
effect on Perlin noise.
Well, it's a symmetry, you know, it's an idea that when you put symmetry on anything, your brain gets a perception of face. You know, that's how...
Your brain by default tries to see faces in things because faces are important references for you as a human being.
Yeah, so Colonia was practically based on it. You know, that's why we call it Colonia or Colony, because it's a slideshow of different aliens who live in the colony, you know.
Okay, so let's move on to the next place entry, which is also by Nosfe Noby. That's why I decided to pause it a little bit. So
it's not by me. It's actually by Branch.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's released under a group I founded, though, the Experimental Graphics Group, which is essentially a group under which anyone can release experimental productions at their own will. And Branch, I had a tiny part in this demo in the sense that Branch was wondering, like, what sort of demo should he make for Demobit? And I suggested that, why don't you make something under Experimental Graphics Research Group again, and this is what he came up with. And
yeah, because the difficulty is finding out what group you should make a demo for, not what concept you want to make the demo for.
Well, the group
once you know the group name, the rest is easy.
Yeah, I mean, a group is more of just like a set of like aesthetic weights, if you will, and just if once you like pick that, it can be like any sort of like it's just a way of like getting a thought out there of like starting up with something.
I remember a lot of people during the live stream complaining about the very loud sound. And they clearly didn't know Grey Park before, because it was written on the slide that it was sound by Grey Park. So
I sat at the front of the stage and I didn't have any protection, and it didn't. Only the very last part of the demo hurt my ears a bit.
Okay. So Nosfe, do you want to talk about this soundtrack? I hear a lot of modem sounds in there, at least.
Yeah, well,
It's more like loading.
well, it's a track that was the original version of the track was put out by on Enough Records on the Pay to Pray EP.
So already quite a few years old. It's like 12 years old now, no? Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like Branch was on IRC asking for a track, and then I well, like for a glitchy track, and I kind of remembered this one. And then I did edit a little bit, like shortened it and added some stuff, and but still, it's.
Did you do anything for the visuals? Like, did you give any feedback whatsoever, or did you just work on the track?
I concentrated on the track here.
Okay, fair enough.
So it was Branch who did the visuals.
I think this demo is just beautiful, both as far as the visuals and audio goes. I think there's a very interesting like symmetries being explored here, like very different kinds of visuals, like and exporting how they fit together with this kind of music. And I think it overall just fits together.
The Eye was a freak show.
I didn't.
Yeah, but there's the Loader made a demo with Grey Park track some years ago at the Data Storm, and he also it was just with this eye. So I don't know what is with the coders coming up with this eye.
Grey part makes you think of eyes.
Yes.
And it was curious that they also had this antler head, and it showed up at the Altair demo as well, which for me was like, what the fuck? Different groups use the same 3D asset? What the hell?
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that actually, that's true.
And this part is a little bit opera in the middle.
Probably from AM radio again or something.
No, I think it's from some old tape. Well, one of the members in Grey Park quite often uses like tape players and with some random tapes, and then this is some kind of, I think, if I recall correctly, it's some kind of religious
ceremony.
Slaughter. Religious slaughter or something like that.
This end of this demo is the closest the demo scene has ever come to David Lynch, I think. In the best possible way.
I mean, there was that demo that filmed the road. That was pretty David Lynchian-esque. Was it by Blue Flame? I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, well, the music was a bit different, like tech house music, but I think I know what you mean with. That was a great demo.
Yeah, this one is nice. I didn't watch it yet. So experimental graphics research group. Okay.
Yeah, you have to check their other demos. They feature a lot of vaporwave with dolphins and stuff like that. And a lot of clipping issues, so definitely experimental.
Yeah, that demo is certainly something else. I know the one you're meaning.
And this one was an ASMR demo by Garguy, which was also pretty what the fuck.
I don't know. I didn't really. It doesn't really feel ASMR to me. It's more like just Foley. But I don't know.
Well, it's in stereo, so it's clearly ASMR. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick while you guys enjoy the ASMR demo, so be right back.
This is actually the first time I'm hearing this with headphones on, so I might as well get the best experience. There's also this very uncomfortable, like, low frequency hum there. It might not come across right now, but I was very apparent at the party. I think it's adds a lot to this.
Hello, I am back.
Hello.
Great ASMR. So what do you guys think about the concept of doing ASMR demos? I mean, this is clearly the first attempt, but there's still so much we can do. Like,
What is ASMR?
you don't know what ASMR is? It actually stands for something. So let me search the proper terminology. Autonomous sensory meridian response. So it's pretty much when you hear these crumbling sounds or little sounds with pan sounds, it gives you this reassuring feeling, like a calming, pleasurable feeling. And if you go to Twitch and you search for ASMR, there are a lot of girls with very big tits doing all these sort of sounds on the microphone. And calling it ASMR channels, and with shit tons of viewers. And it's a thing, because it calms people. Who would have known that hot girls doing seductive sounds of crumpling near the microphone would soothe the tons of teenage boys? And it's a thing. It's an actual thing. You search ASMR, you have shit tons of videos on YouTube.
Nice. I learned something new today.
Yeah, it's a growing market.
Growing market, yeah.
And there are some guys doing ASMR stuff as well. Because, you know, you cannot be exclusive. You see some people on the chat. ASMR is basically women on Twitch whispering to man babies going to bed. It's pretty accurate. The name ASMR is supposed to translate to eargasm. It's true.
Their scene has already split to many scenes.
How did we change to this? We're not supposed to change to this. We were supposed to play the next demo, which is Silo. And Silo was the 5th place demo at Demobit. What place was it placed? 5th, yeah, I am correct. By Limp Ninja. Limp Ninja still active, yo.
Yeah, actually, Bruce has like become more active recently, and I think this was another great demo by him.
A bit fast-made, maybe.
Yeah, and he made his own music again. Maybe not his strong suit, but still good enough for this demo. I just like it has this like a contemporary like 3D design aesthetic of just like throwing random simple shit together and just making it look good.
I think it went too far. It's like only coders are part of the scene, you know. Like
it's mostly like
yeah.
Originally speaking, only coders were the guys who could release a demo. If you were a graphician or a musician, you couldn't do a demo. So I think that explains culturally why the demo scene has so much of a coder force behind it. And if you don't have a coder, you're pretty much screwed. Or you're forced to use like Unity or Unreal or whatever engine to pull your vision together.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, you go first, please.
I talked about that exact thing at Demobit. I had a seminar there, and well, it's actually in form of an essay, which I'm still doing. I should release the actual essay. It actually deals with this exact topic. Well, it cites the topic of like how there's like a essentially coders are on the top in the hierarchy of demo scene in the matter of like importance. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, I'm saying that they are not important and the most important. I'm saying that productions as demos and stuff are better when they involved more people and some artists, be it visual artists, like for example Visualize, yeah, for example, where he was like very driving force of many very good and very important demos, including some with PS, but also some demos where musicians are driving force and when it goes to different directions. So I believe that every code can be even better when presented better in wider picture. So that's what I'm addressing. Too many coders are making music for their demos.
But it's curious because we see a lot more musicians turning into programmers recently in the demo scene. And Noby, you were one of those guys because you were originally a musician, right?
Kinda, yeah. I was doing music since like pre-teenage years, and eventually, like when I went to university and through there learned to program. So essentially, yeah.
But we've seen guys like Virgil, for example. He's been programming as well, and that guy from what's it called, Matt, I think, from LKCC, also a musician, also started coding 4Ks and stuff like that.
Yeah, but there is this situation who maybe some came by, maybe some didn't, where musician starts coding because he can't find coder.
Yeah, that's true. That's usually the main problem.
This is why I'm coding also. That I'm kind of coding, not much in this way, but kind of will have to code also to make more productions. I will have to go into code. It's more likely that I will do that or than to find the coder which is willing to work in a group. So I think it's not a good thing. I think that, for example, there is this. You remember the Black Lotus?
The Black Lotus? Yeah.
Yeah, the Black Lotus, for example. It's a, it's mainstream group. It's a large group. It has different kind of productions, but it's very obvious how much design and can influence the overall success and the like of the production, the flow. For example, we talked about our demo Colonia. It's pure sound sync. It's based on pure, simple sound sync, which is really thought of and made very precisely. It wouldn't work if it wasn't very rhythmically paced as it is.
But I think what has been happening a lot is that the demos that become more famous or that more people like are the ones where the coders have some sort of artistic insight or vision, or they have some sort of connection with the graphics that allows them to be more than just coder porn.
Yeah, for example, I believe Noby is also one of these guys. There are those people who are, but there are also many coders who are making, demos in coder colors. The joke. You remember joke about coder colors?
Yeah, coder colors, and then Dutch color scheme colors.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. That it's kind of getting back on the scene. This generic, like I see 10 demos today, and only 2 demos which are like something that is worthy to go into it. They're similar. They look alike. They are just copies with more shaders and more random generated geometry, and it doesn't have many of that. I don't say that all, but many productions are just like, I call it visual masturbation.
What do you think about this demo? Have you seen it before already, Dominator?
No, I'm watching it now.
This is a collaboration between ASD and Zen of Satori, with music by Noby here.
Yeah. This is like a VJ mix, you know, it's okay in that way.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
That was my music pitch.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Very quickly. I think I started working on the track like two weeks before the party, and it was finished a little less than a week before.
It's cool. This one is not visual masturbation for me. So, yeah.
It's curious for me because I see a lot of references in this demo. I see underworld references. I see references to Skewney. Are any of these references real or just in my head, Noby?
I couldn't really tell. I think they're probably just in your head. I mean, obviously, like I think everyone, even Sedan, is like subconsciously influenced by those productions. But I think it was. I mean, the production process. I think it was essentially just that Novice gave Sedan some visuals, some shaders, and GPU code, and then took them and started to make a demo out of them. Added his own CPU, VJ tool software stuff on top, and like remixed them basically. I was very happy working on this just because like both Novice and Sedan, well, at different points were like huge influences on me in the demo scene and in art in general, and I was very happy finally getting to work with both of them.
Yeah, the result was pretty good. You're a bit low on the microphone, by the way, Noby. Don't know if you're far away or something.
No, I think I turned it down earlier. Is it better now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah.
Nosfe, what do you think about these kind of demos?
Well, this one, or
yeah, this one. I just want to get you talking because you're a bit silent.
Yeah. I really liked in the beginning there was the stuff that looked like film burning, which I really liked.
Yeah, I think that's maybe my favorite visual of this demo too.
Yeah. Like, it's a good demo. It's not maybe my favorite from either one, Satori or ASD. But I think I have to see it like some more times to really know what I think about it. But like the beginning is really beautiful.
There's some analogies with the DJ scene. I don't know how much you are involved.
Well, Zden is a VJ, so...
Yeah, so I would try to explain this, because there's some music, also some demos. We are now mature scene. We have a different kind of demos. So it's normal to have different demos for different moods, because we also feel differently in different kind of day or in situation. So there are certain music that when you go to the party, DJ will have in his head some music which is a kind of filler, you know. There are some peaks where you want to present something particular, and then there is some filler which is important to exist, because if it doesn't exist, if it's always on the peak, you can't really enjoy this human interaction of sinus up and down functioning, you know. So it kind of makes sense to have different kind of demos, even this chill. I play this kind of demos when I want to make a mood for a beginning of event, for example. I will select 1 hour of this kind of stuff with this
more
kind
chill
of music.
out stuff.
Yeah, with this kind of music, but some nice, thoughtful and interesting visuals. And I always pick at least 3 demos from Zden for that. And then later I go into detail, like go into some work which really needs to get paid attention. But you need to, like a DJ, when you select music to play, you also do this with this kind of
Visuals.
stuff, visuals. And I'm also kind of walking toward that audio-visual performance. You know, next time I go live, I plan to do a DJ set with demos who have good music and good visuals.
Oh, we have quite a lot already, so it's possible.
So, yeah, it's possible. It's not done as properly as I imagined yet, but you know, it's a normal thing. So not every demo needs to be hardcore, even in my perspective. You know, someone may think that I only watch some, I don't know, noise or black and white. There is this funny thing about black and white. When you make black and white videos, you're artist automatic, you know. And the first time someone said that to me, the next demo was in full color. So I don't really want to fit in any kind of setup. We are here to invent the new forms. So that is the only the only purpose of experimenting is to invent new forms. But meanwhile, we also need to chill, to drink some coffee, to talk about different things. So
anyways, the second place demo was this one, Searching Through the Voids by Musk. I was very surprised by this demo. It's mostly a particle demo, as you're starting to see now. But the particle effects really work very well.
Yeah, I think this is Musk's... I think he made one demo with this at like a function, I think, last year. It's his Vulkan engine. And this is basically like the second generation, like improving on the particle rendering, and I think it's a much better than the last one, and definitely like deserves to get second place. I mean, we've been doing particles in the scene for like 10 years now, pretty much, like this GPU particles, and it's kind of like this is very, in a way, basic, but it's just done to perfection of this particular style.
Yeah, this one can be reminds me, for example, you know, orange stuff like this bulb, or you know, it's of course it had much smaller amount of particles, but it's a kind of how we explore the same ideas with new technology in loops, you know.
It's really cool how he managed to bridge back to the old school effects, like the tunnel effect, very typical on the demo scene, and he managed to redo it, but in a very good looking way, which is really what you want, like a fresh take on the old effects.
Yeah, and of course you gotta have a torus if you go to that old school effects route.
And the music is, well, nothing special, but it fits. So it's good enough.
Yeah, the music is by Musk as well. I think it's essentially a one-person production.
Yeah, yeah. And this effect reminded me of one of your 4Ks, Noby, the one with water, where you see through those kind of waves.
Have I made a 4K like that? Which one is that?
The one that was black and white.
I think there are like 4 of them that are black and white.
The one where the planets collided. They had this scene where you would see sort of on that view frame the water signals in a similar fashion.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And why we don't have any of his stuff in the playlist?
Because Noby is a recurring guest, so we already seen his stuff before.
I think all my stuff has been played already, but...
Okay.
And this one that is playing now is the first place demo, Mara by Altair. It didn't quite do it for me. It's a good demo. I just thought there was something missing.
Altair is definitely one of the... I think it's the most interesting group currently active in the scene.
Yeah, they're still going up. It's like some groups you've seen that like they're top themselves, and Altair has been doing for the last years has been still rising up, and you can see that they still have potential to still do another big jump in quality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're still young, they're very talented, and they're very motivated, and there's like no sign of stopping. There's no sign of them stopping, and no sign of anyone stopping them.
But their style reminded me a lot of Cocoon by some reason.
I think like whatever there is similarities there are with Cocoon, I think Altair just does so much better.
Oh, strong words! Shots fired!
Yeah, this is like Cocoon if Cocoon had like patience to put like actual.
Oh, and TSC is eating his heart out right now.
Well, I think you're wrong.
And TSC is a very capable designer too, but it's there hasn't been too much like variety or like really inspiration or like too much behind their Cocoon demos lately. I think that this is just brilliant, like how this demo, like it's just this scene with like the cloth that's dropping down, but it keeps cutting to it, like it's like stopping time in between, and then you finally see like this part.
In terms of scene composition, it's very cinematic, but I still thought there was something missing. I don't know if it was just me or whatever it was, but I felt that there was something missing.
I want to mention Cocoon, to defend Cocoon. They have a very good demo from 2015. It's called We Stand Divided.
Mm-hmm.
We Stand Divided is absolutely,
yeah.
It's one of the best like Cocoon demos.
And from my perspective, this is not the same as Altair, because Cocoon are more dirty, you know. They're more gritty, you know, they're more game alike, you know. But Altair is more like art alike, like gallery and some, you know, clean space.
Yeah,
that's a different
way to put it.
I've seen a lot of that clean space feeling on some Cocoon demos as well, but it depends on the demo. Some of them are more gritty, and the other ones are feel a bit more clinical. Let's call it that.
I follow Cocoon from the Amiga days, so I tell you that they are more gritty than not gritty. They're coming from industrial background, and you know, that's why it is a bit different.
Yeah. If you go back to something like the Shard series,
yeah,
like all the way to the 90s, and the new one from like 10 years ago, it's definitely true.
Well, if you want to talk gritty, I have my mate Nosfe here with us. We're about to get into the playlist of his stuff. So, Nosfe, how did you get initially into the demo scene? You're more of a video artist, right?
The best.
Well, I started making videos in like 2000, 2001, but I was already in the scene since like 93, 94.
You started in the Amiga stuff?
No, started on PC.
Oh my god, you're a PC lamer. I thought you were an Amiga elite. You have a hoodie and everything saying Amiga. Come on. Oh my god, I'm so disappointed in you, Nosfe, now.
No, we started, well, VLP is the first group that did any releases, and that started like in 95, 94, 95. But I was already a couple of years like, well, going to parties since 94.
Did you originally, how did you join MFX?
It was like I knew MFX guys from Finnish parties, and like since like mid-90s, but I joined MFX it was around 2000. It was, I think it was around, yeah, we were like attending the same courses at the university with Uncle X and 216. And then we made like ended up doing some cooperation based on some stuff at some like graphics coding course or something. And then I ended up joining MFX 10.
But you seem to be more into video art than actually doing demos. Is this true, or is it just me mistaking things?
Video or...
You seem to be more into video art.
Video art? Yeah, it's been... yeah, I've done quite a lot of more video stuff than like real time. And that's mostly because it's easier to just take the video editor and play around with that than actually beat some coder to
it's the old problem. The old problem of not having a coder sharing your vision to do the demo for you.
Well,
let me drop in. Being too busy.
Let me drop in this particular video. When it was released, it had a major influence on our on our artists, not only comic artists, who realized that that they can actually make something using video editing software without coder, because we always lacked coders here in Serbia. So this kind of moved things toward becoming cosmoplovci, actually.
It's nice to hear.
Yeah. Future of futures.
Yeah, I think that's maybe that one must be one of the first. It wasn't the first one, but one of the first videos, and maybe the first like really good video I made. And then this
is Space Cadet. Where the hell is this from?
What is this?
I randomly picked. I confess, I randomly picked this.
Oh, I love it. We released this at the Out Party 2003, maybe.
So this is a Linux demo for the Alternative Party 2002, and we got 5th place.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a video of like some troops taking LSD, and we had developed our own this like video compression system. So this is basically using that. It's the Metal Cut Whalebone 6 compression, which has been used in this demo, and then also the Fortnite intro. If I recall correctly.
This is 15 minutes long, so I guess we will skip to the next one. The next one is one of my favorites from you. It's Mother, Mother, My Ears Bleed. And when I saw this for the first time, I was like, fuck yeah. Finally someone does proper noise and mixes both visuals and sound. It's actually a remix from a How Job demo when you decided to make like a proper noise version out of it.
Yeah, I remember this one too.
So how did the idea for making this come about?
We went from Boozembly to drink at Droid's place, and it was a drunken night of coding, and I somehow raped the soundtrack completely.
You know, because of you, and especially MFX and this kind of stuff, we always wanted to come to Finland to Boozembly, never to Assembly.
You should come somewhere.
Oh, we will, don't worry. We will. The time is there yet.
Yeah, Branch is saying that Mother Mother My Ears Bleed is in his top 10 of Demoscene demos.
Branch, I've never heard you say that this is in your top 10.
He changes every week. He has a different top 10.
That's my thing.
Okay, so let's take a moment to speak about noise and the different kinds of noise and why noise. So there are different kinds of noise. There are more rhythmic kinds of noise. There are more aggressive, glitchy kind of noise. So Nosfe, which kind of noise artist are you?
It has varied quite a lot, but so I'm just noise artist mostly because like this one is maybe more glitchy than harsh. Or I don't consider this one harsh yet.
Yeah, I consider this glitchy as well.
Yeah.
But why noise? Like some people sometimes ask me, why do you do noise? How can you express yourselves? And I was telling people, actually we had this discussion on Poet. I was telling people that noise is like trying to do the exactly opposite of being pleasing. And you were saying that some noise can actually be pleasing and you can actually enjoy listening to noise.
Yeah, because like listening to a noise track, it can be really pleasing, and you can get this really, especially like live concerts with like when there's enough PA and the sound like completely engulfs you, and then you get this kind of cathartic experience of.
Yeah, I want to second that. It's a very good experience when you go past that thing. It's annoying, but if you let yourself go and don't think about annoying, then it can become
comforting.
You know, that it can open. Yeah, it can become even comforting.
I heard of a few guys, well, friends, they're not really friends, they're acquaintances of mine that used to randomly like noise. They were like into folk, world music, and then they also listened noise at some point when they wanted to like clear their heads. Like it would be like, you know, the stuff when you eat at sushi to clean your palate, they would listen to a noise track to do that. Do you guys see it the same way, or do you see it differently?
I think I listen. Well, okay. I think I'll use it. Yeah, okay. I'm not using it maybe like a wasabi, but I can see how people could do that. But I think I enjoy it more than just like once in a while. But it can be this kind of cleaning experience. So.
Aaron the German on the chat is saying that they just don't like the high-pitched mosquito sound effects. Well, I mean, you can equalize some of the stuff out, but most of the idea of noise is hitting those frequencies that you would really not like to be hearing.
Well, I have a question, you know, for everyone watching this. If you receive a transmission from space and it's harsh noise, would you ignore it because you don't like it?
But then, I mean, those transmissions you can like decode into...
Well, who says that our noise can't be decoded?
That's true. That's some food for thought.
This demo right here is one of my favorites ever.
I actually believe that we are encoding messages even subliminally, even unconsciously into what we do.
I know I encode a lot of emotion into my noise. I don't know if I have specific message, but the emotion is definitely there.
Emotion is message, and the music is maybe the best language for transferring emotion, for communicating emotion. Maybe that's one of the solutions that our civilization needs to understand. Who knows? We are exploring it.
This demo, Kanapashius, I think was the first of a series of 3 or 4 demos made by mostly Pomac, I guess, with music by Nosfe, and it really explores noise not just in sound. Some of them are not really noisy in sound, they're more like drone ambient, but the visuals have a lot of this randomization to it, or what's it called, TV static look to it as well, which people usually associate with noise. So it was really interesting to see when this came out. I think one of them was released at Breakpoint, got a lot of controversy because of that. But the other ones was released, I think this one was at Stream or at Vortex, and it got first place. So
yeah,
it was
this
really,
was at Stream.
it was a really cool series.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this series we made. Like, I think it's
this particular demo. I believe this is the largest MP4 file I have on hard disk.
Yeah, because static noise compresses really badly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know the demo +1, +1, -1.
Yeah, from Knos.
It also encodes very badly, and it's very small. It's just stupendous to have a 3 GB file in order to watch 10 MB, exe file. So this is one of the examples when I tried to explain to people how different is watching the video file from demo. Actually, this is one of the prime examples, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm getting glitchy compression errors mostly now.
Yeah, the encoder is pretty much dying. It's interesting talk in the chat, which
I mean, let's skip to another one because you can't see anything here.
I'll skip it in a second. Let me just mention what has been said on the chat. The Laced Mushroom was saying that advanced civilizations would communicate by quantum entanglement. Anyway, that you couldn't eavesdrop. I don't know what the hell quantum entanglement is, but it sounds fancy. And Procyon was saying that side channel attacks in other parts of the communication channels would still be usable for eavesdropping. So you can never completely encode your message. Advanced civilizations use tonal music for communication, according to Spielberg films. Well, was it E.T.? Not E.T. Was it the
Close Encounters?
Close Encounters, yeah. Neonai is asking an interesting question. What is noise to you? What is the definition of noise? Does anyone want to try to have a crack at that? No one?
I don't think it's a binary. It's a gradient. At some point, something just turns into a noise, and it's hard to say where that is. Or like how much of something is noise. You can't say like you can't draw a line between like what is art and what's not art.
What is signal? What is noise?
Yeah.
I hate that dilemma. What is art and what is not art?
Yeah.
It's really about labeling. It's about labeling. It's like PS. If he asked me the question that he asked Nosfe, I would tell him to fuck off. I don't feel any of us is any kind of noise artists. It's
I'm just an artist.
Well, I'm not an artist. I don't believe we are also artists. We are visionaries. We have these visions that are bothering us and that we need to materialize. And that's what motivates us to make them.
That is very true. There's some deep shit right there, Igor.
Well, we can make some theories, but the point comes to that. There is this saying, Bill Laswell, there is this guy, very important
ambient artist,
producer and artist, and he always says that he didn't make anything original. Nothing of his work is original, nothing of anyone's work is original. We are just conduits to the messages, to the emotion that we receive. And that's it. We can translate it into music or painting or story, but it's not completely original it's like it appeared only in our brain. That gives an answer to this very widespread thing that you can invent something, and at the same time someone else will invent the same thing in some other part of the planet without internet. You know, so it's uncharted territory, I believe.
We're like a medium or a
Yeah.
conduit where
Yeah.
art expresses itself through us.
And me as a big, I'm not. I really insist on not being artist. I'm more like scientist because I really.
You
want
have a
to
method to your
Yeah,
explorations.
I'm trying to set up a method when there is no method involved yet. So I believe something is there, and it definitely drives us to make this. We don't earn money. We are not going to get rich. We are not going to become respected in our community. We are from 4 different parts of the world now chatting here. You know, you don't see many people locally that can understand this thing.
It's true, I always had problem finding local people who would understand what the hell I'm talking about when I want to express noise and ambient and that kind of stuff. But there are a couple. I mean, sometimes you find some people who understand that logic, but it's a very
Yes.
niche genre for well, first for doing ambient and doing harsh ambient, as you call it, or hardcore ambient, as you call it, like the oppressive noise ambient feeling, or glitch art in general, and then doing it in the demo scene. So it's not very easy to find someone who shares that aesthetic and vision with you.
Well, starting from the beginning of 2000 or maybe even before, I believe that the demo scene is now big enough to have different parts of it. Like we have mainstream and underground within the scene.
Like they say that the demo scene is underground already, so we're the underground of the underground.
Yeah, actually we are, but not because we want to separate, but because we need this. We need to stick together in order to communicate better without spam. I don't like explaining my work to someone who doesn't really try to understand it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many people who are really stuck at that first step of not being able to. For example, there are many people who expect vocals in the music, something that they can understand communication only through text, not through music. So whatever genre it is, how can I talk with them if they don't want to try? And there are many people who don't want to try, and I try to inspire them, and among them some understand, and this is how we spread this idea and learn to be better at it. Let's say that. That's how Cosmopolitan. Yeah.
About this demo, was this collaboration with Kurli from Coolers?
Yeah, this is by
Yeah,
Panasonic.
Kurli.
Xenocrates by Panasonic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
also
made
like,
the soundtrack and Kurli made the programming.
Yeah.
I like this project. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was-
these Panasonic demos for about a year as they came out were very interesting.
I believe there are 2 or 3 demos under Panasonic.
Three or something like that. I think.
Skuni had more. Panasonic only had like 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah.
I think I made 2 with Kurli, and then someone else made. He made also one Panasonic demo with someone else, I think.
Okay.
Or did we?
There are 3: Dea Alba, Polus, and Xenocrates. All of them in 2009.
Yeah. Yeah, for Polus I also made the soundtrack.
I actually have a couple productions from Nosfe that I might be interested in adding to the playlist. They're only like a minute long, but
yeah, by all means, do add.
Okay.
I think we're okay in time.
How do you add stuff here? Didn't figure out.
You just search it on the top, and then when it shows up on the bottom part, you click the plus sign next to the star, and it adds to the playlist. I would like to hear from the chat if you guys have any questions for the more experimental noise artists that you usually don't get to ask. Would be a great opportunity to ask the question, and we might or might not address it. But yeah, Nosfe, I don't think I got a proper answer from you. Where do you... Why noise? Do you have like a... Do you know why you like making noise usually, or is it just whatever came out of when you were experimenting with things?
No, what I like in noise is that there's like this kind of finding patterns in noise and kind of or hearing or seeing patterns in noise and using that for like as a method to somehow
Someone in
visualize some things that people have maybe in their own heads and then kind of
so it's like a Rorschach test, but for audio as well.
Yeah, in one sense.
Someone in the chat is asking, have you ever considered renaming yourself to Nosfe with an extra E, so it's closer to noise?
No, but I've been thinking about organizing a festival called Noise Fest.
Ah, okay, so close enough. Yeah, I want to play there.
Okay, I will invite you then.
Me too, me too.
This is another great demo. I remember this very fondly because this was the same compo where we released the first Epoch demo at Stream 2014, and this won the compo.
And Flo been doing a lot of interesting stuff as well, also called experimental, not just noise, but really just what the fuck is the only word I can think of. Completely going beyond any logical ideology. Is there anything you can tell us about the process behind the Flow demo, Nosfe?
Quite a lot of substances usually.
I've seen your Absinthe unboxing, so does Absinthe play a large part in Flow productions?
In recent years, yes. Like we have this yearly absinthe tasting and some like happening every 19th of December. So if you happen to be in Finland on 19th of December some year, then you can get a...
No, 19th of December is my birthday, so I definitely should join at some
then
point.
You definitely should. It's been yearly on that date. Well, last year or the year before that we had to change for some reason. But we've had it since 2012 or 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember seeing you guys producing this at the party, and HTH, the coder, he seemed like he was just suffering through it.
Yeah.
These are two entries that I added to the playlist, which are, I think, very interesting. I think the camera work in this one is quite.
You see a very young Nosfe.
For the demo scene.
Joo, mä tuun.
Wake up shot. And then what the hell happened in the bathroom?
Yeah.
I remember you said on the comments that took like 3 weeks to clean up.
Yeah, it took quite a lot of time. I had no idea that like cleaning up blood can be so fucking difficult.
Was it actual blood that you?
Yeah, it was. I wanted to look as realistic as possible, but of course the real blood didn't even. It was quite difficult to actually make it look like real on camera. So
Right.
would
Yeah,
have been a lot easier to use some fake blood.
Yeah, that's
to
kind of why I
make
added it, because I was wondering about these sort of little details.
So someone requested for this specific demo, which is called The Agony of an Artist. By Tueko Tuanto. I don't know how to say that.
Tekotuotanto.
That thing. What Nosfe said. I don't think I've seen this one. It's from the Alternative Party 2011. First place Short Wild.
I don't know how you Nosfe feel about this. Do you think it's like, is it too harsh? No pun intended. Or
No, I haven't actually even seen this one. I know. I heard about it when it came out, and just turned it on.
yeah,
Seeing it first time now.
So no one ever seen this before, okay.
I've seen it. I remember when this was released.
There is. I will add something to this. We have this. We had in the 90s a lo-fi video scene. You know, a lot of people were making short films and using technology when editing it. So this is one of the places where we got connected and worked together with other artists, not only from Demoscene.
So noise is everything.
I choose black.
Well, our videos were much more noisier than this because of low quality of VHS, which was used at the time. So, so you know. Some noise comes natural.
Okay, this is clearly a parody of a noise artist.
Noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the better one? Or maybe gray? Or scratches and dust? Fucking color TV.
Black and white is the real noise.
Hey, I want to order a pizza with dust, scratches, and double noise. No colors. I said no colors. I don't have that much time. World's gonna end soon. I once made a song for my girl. It went like this.
I kinda like this clip part instead of the rest. I mean, Demoscene has a very long tradition of people making fun of the noise artists. There was this particular demo made by Minimal Animal, which was a demo group that was formed by some Spanish sceners who were tired of what they would call at the time arty-faggot scene, which would be art people trying to make demos or making demos and calling them art for art's sake, which was pretty much what came from Chimera of Halcyon becoming so debated at the time after assembly.
There's noise.
And that demo in particular was called Cosmoplovsy by Minimal Artifact, which they were making fun of Cosmoplovsy. And it's funny because then Cosmoplovsy guys also made a demo called Minimal Animal at the same time, and they both participated at the compo.
But also, you must know that that Spanish demo was one of the favorite demos that we actually loved. So we kind of knew that it's a parody, but it was very successful one. So it is one of the best noise demos. Yes.
It's hard to make Mr. Doof do experimental stuff, and so you managed to do that, which is important.
Yeah, but he did it properly. You know? Because he is a professional, I guess, you know. He doesn't like to do things lightly, you know.
I also wanted to mention a few of the other platforms that exist, like the Spectrum scene also has a big history of doing experimental stuff, and especially Screw You have been delivering a lot of very interesting demos with glitch, noise, black and white aesthetics. I chose this randomly. It's called Mother by Screw You. They also have one called Father, released at the same compo. They have many other entries. I believe some of the most favorite ones from Screw You are actually the show of the talking socks, where they have this puppet socks on. But this one's pretty interesting as well.
There is another group called CPU.
Of course, CPU. But CPU was originally not a noise experimental group. They made a lot of techno psychedelic stuff, and then they ended up a little bit into experimental. And I did some works with them as well, which were quite interesting.
It was also this group Inward, so it was somehow, I think, part of CPU. Or,
yeah, it was a subgroup of CPU.
Yeah.
Inward
CPU,
group.
aka Cyberpunk's Unity, I believe.
Yeah.
And Inward was maybe the more noisy experimental part of
I
the
was
CPU.
thinking about Inward, actually, yeah. Inward Productions. Like Moran.
This one is one of the most famous. I Am the Seed by CPU and Inward.
Yeah, this is really beautiful.
But can you really consider this noise or experimental? Definitely experimental, but I wouldn't call it noise.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, noise is not really. Or it's
Visually.
There's some like visually there's some, but the soundtrack is.
It's the sliding
Not
scale
noise
again.
at all.
Like this is like in the gray area. That like is this noise or not? Like I think it's in part, but it doesn't need to be wholly, like, entirely, like, what everyone would consider noise. I think it still has that element, and I think it's worthy of discussing it in this context, at least.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, if there are no other questions for our guests, I guess we're reaching the end of today's show, unless anyone has anything in particular they would like to plug or ask. I see someone, it was you, Igor, suggested The Source by Inward. That's an awesome demo. We can end with that. We can definitely end with that and add that to the playlist afterwards.
I also put here one of the Corrosion intros, which was like beginning of Cosmoplovci, before Cosmoplovci, you know.
We played one, like Explovak, whatever it's called.
Yeah, but this one is really noise stuff. We both visually and musical. It's MS-DOS intro, so it's very, very rare.
Corrosion X2. Okay, I guess we'll play that one, and then we'll end with The Source.
Yeah.
Any other questions anyone wants to ask on the chat? This is the right time to do so. Otherwise, I will also ask my guests if they have anything else they would like to say. Or what are you up to recently, Dominator? What are your plans for the near future? Anything you would like to plug? New website or event?
Well, I'm doing some streaming, like you do, but a bit different, and I'm much focused on music lately. So I guess visual stuff will have to wait. But I'm keeping up with the scene, and I know what's going on. So I'm around.
Are you gonna show up at Revision this year?
Well, it's not do I want or not, it's if I am able to organize myself financially. So if that happens, whenever that happens, you'll see me. So I'm here, and stuff is in the pipeline, and some will come out soon. Yeah.
Hope to see you again in person sometime soon.
Yeah, all of you too, and keep up the good work, guys. Both you, Nosfe, and you, Noby. You know, it's worth it. It stays. You can watch it 10 years after, 20 years after, and you can see that it makes sense. So just do it.
Yeah.
Thanks to both of you too. I mean, huge influence to me, and yeah.
Well, I'm
hope
glad.
To see more stuff from you too.
I'm very glad, because I also try to do this locally, like to get people inside the scene and then, you know, to work what they believe in. So it's always good to hear that someone has actually understood that message and that he's doing his own work also, not just copying our work or someone else's. So it's a good thing that's happening for the scene. Yeah.
It's very... One of the things that I wanted to mention was the Koi Triplex compilation that you did, because that was the release that actually got me paying more attention to Cosmoplovci. You made this music disc, and it was a double CD, I believe, at the time, and then you did a Koi Triplex 2 or something like that, which were... I don't remember the exact, I guess you probably know better than me. And it was like a compilation of your soundtracks and other musics. And it really worked as like a space ambient experimental thing. But it was very easy listening. And that was one of my main gateways into Cosmoplovci, actually. I always found it curious how you always did that limited edition and then never put it out again, because you told me that there were some CDRs at some point of that.
Yeah, that first one was made as a limited edition CDR, because we made also a CD-ROM, like with interface that allowed videos to be seen together with music and that kind of stuff. So yeah, our name Kosmoplovci doesn't come. It also comes with some background in it. So we are kind of childish in this way of exploring the universe, but not only on the exterior, but also on the inside. So it's a kind of cosmic exploration, and you know, that's how that's why we lean to some space ambient as well. So it's here. That's why we don't declare ourselves as noise artists particularly, but also as ambient artists or even club artists. You know, we have live.
It's curious, the space ambient label. It always sounds like it's like ambient sounds that could be understood by people from another galaxy. It's like universe globally accepted ambient.
Well, I guess if you put down the music and it means something to you, it probably means something to someone else. So you put it there and you let it live. So the time will come.
We will see. Anyways, Nosfe, do you want to tell us what you've been up to?
Well, lately I've been trying to get back on, like, actively making demos, and that's why there's this other Koriyama Productions, and I met kind of like trying to get active because I need to actually make some demos for my doctorate.
You're doing like a PhD on the Demoscene, is this true?
Yeah, well, it's Doctorate of Fine Arts, but yeah, it's an equivalent of PhD. I'm doing it on like Demoscene, like, and I need, because it's artistic research, I'm partly doing like artworks connected to it, and need to present more of that stuff. So and I started in the program already some years ago, but like due to different events, only gotten to like hands-on back to making demos like last year.
Oh, you did good on Demo Bit. You had 2 entries there.
Yeah.
So plans for revision? You're gonna be there?
I'm gonna be there. I already booked flights, but I actually need to book another flights because I fucked up the dates for my return flight. But it's such a good party that I pay for the travels 2 times, so it's really worth going there.
Okay. I think that's it. We only have The Source left to watch, but I want to let this play for a few minutes because it's really good. No, wait, this is The Source. This is not The Path. The Path is the one that's like 20 minutes long. This one is just 2 minutes 45.
Yeah.
This one we can watch through. Deranged as I walk alone through the shadow forest of my thoughts submerged. It's too fast for it to be read. It sounds quite hopeless.
It's Russia.
In Russia, everything is hopeless. I think I like The Path better.
I love the patterns that this algorithm is creating on the right there. Like this run the order between like, something orderly and something chaotic.
Yeah, and there is another section in a few seconds.
It's like message from Cosmos. Bye, Branch. Thanks for watching. And the rest of everyone. Yeah, I'm forgetting to thank the the supporters on the Patreon. Garfield, Geoff Thornbrook, Paul Champokit, El Topo, Fulcrum, Paul Falcão, Get It Wessendorf, Trickster, Evil, and Gaspot. Thanks so much for your support on Patreon, guys. I really appreciate it. This is like the Twister effect, but more glitchy than ever.
This is like the essence of Demoscene for me, when I watch Effect and I don't know the fuck what is going on. And I want to know, so that's the Demoscene, you know, for me.
Okay, so that's it for this show. Thank you guys. See you next time. Probably next month.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.